Hello and welcome to the Car Care Nut channel. So folks, this is a 2022 Hyundai Tucson plug-in hybrid. This is the new generation Hyundai Tucson, and now it comes in a hybrid and a plug-in hybrid model. In this video, we're going to take a look at this specific model, which is a new model for 2022. We're going to take a look at the interior, the exterior, all the features and everything that is good and stuff that are not very good about this one. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's talk about the exterior of the Hyundai Tucson. And strange doesn't even begin to explain it. Initially, you look at it, looks decent. Kind of the grille looks familiar, kind of a typical Hyundai grille. But then that's when normal ends. You have these, for lack of a better word, blades here that kind of mimic the grille. They're all lighted, they all light up. But then the headlights are all the way down here. These are not really the headlights, these are just for daytime running light. The headlights are all the way down here. Interesting choice. The cool thing about having the headlights so low, you won't blind the people in front of you as much because they're so low to the ground. Problem is, they're not high. So if you're driving in a snow situation, they're gonna get covered up with snow pretty quickly. If you've driven in snow areas, usually the snow starts piling up from the bottom to the top, and these will get covered up pretty quick. When they were here, would be a little bit higher up, especially since this is a giant SUV. But then things get even more interesting when you look at the hood. So the hood has this crease right here and another one on the other side. Looks normal. But then we have another crease down and then another one up. So two downs makes this channel in the middle. It just looks like the hood has too much going on. And this is also not that extreme, because if you want to get really extreme, we have to look at the side of the Hyundai Tucson. This specific area right here. This is what I call the bodyman's worst nightmare. Because you have a bubble, it's actually a fake bubble. It's not really, if you look at it, it's not pushed out of the body of the car. But we've seen this in a lot of car designs when they crease this down, then crease it back up. It looks like it's kind of bubbled up. It's actually not bubbled up. You look at it from the side, it's almost flat. But then you have this fake bubble that kind of shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. Then it literally has a point where it completely ends. It just stops to exist. Very, very interesting, because you have a flat area right here, completely flat. There's absolutely no feature here. And then it starts again. And then we carry on to the body line in the back, which has nothing to do with the body line in the front. It almost looks like this is one car and this is a completely different car. Very strange design. I can't say that I like it because it just looks like an unfinished project. Right here, don't know what happened. Maybe the people that designed the front of this car and the folks that designed the back of this car, they just didn't get along. They didn't sit at the same table at lunchtime or something like that, but that's what they did. And then over here you have this pattern, and this pattern you're going to see it a lot in this car. There's just two boxes, I suppose. That's the theme of this car. And of course, this is the new trend. We have the black plastic trim around and at the bottom. I wish this was body color, or at least available in an option to put it in body color. This would have looked a little less pretending to be an off-roader, more nicer, but they don't. Then we move over to the back, to the next bodyman's worst nightmare. I say that because these doors are near impossible to repair when you get in a tiny ding. And most of the time, especially this front door, you get an accident in this door, it's getting thrown in the garbage, it's getting replaced. The end of that story, because I don't think any bodyman will want to fix this curve right here in this flat spot and then another curve. But the back door has also too much going on. There's this big crease right here, that big pop out that ends in the front door right here. But then you have another line that kind of just, it was not there, and it just comes down and ends at the bottom of the door. Again, too much going on. And this line actually starts the bubble effect. You look at it from the side, it's flat, but you start looking here, it gives you an optical illusion that this is actually raised and it's big, which it's not. This is cool design, the bottom part, that whole deal at the top, I don't know, it's a bit much. And then this line right here carries all the way and wraps around the car and goes to the back. Here is that same pattern you saw in the front. Told you you're going to see this pattern a lot in this car. Here's another one. And of course, we have the compliance flap. I don't know, it seems like all cars, they think it's cool maybe, but can you build cars that are compliant so we don't have the compliance flap? They don't. Then we go in the back, and this is possibly the strangest thing, because you look at this back and you immediately have a mental image in your head that this car will look something completely different in the front. It just doesn't look like the same car. I don't know what happened here. Hyundai usually designs decent looking cars lately. This one is strange, let's put it this way. Some people love it. I don't exactly particularly like the design, but let's keep going. You have these taillights, these slits. Reminds me of a Ford Mustang. Don't know who came up with that design first. Pretty sure we know the answer to that, but it does remind me of a Ford Mustang from the minute I saw this. If you look at down here, it looks exactly like a Ford Mustang, but it's a nice LED light. Again, the bar light goes all across. We're used to this now in the automotive industry. Everybody's using them. They're cool. They look pretty sharp and cool. There are two extremely strange decisions here. One of them is you have this giant, cool LED taillight, then the turn signal is all the way down here, and it's a halogen bulb. Don't know what happened there. Nobody would have minded having this as the turn signal. Problem is, again, the design kind of got in the way. You don't want to put a turn signal on the tailgate, because when it's open, you have no hazard, so you have to put them at the bottom. But this is on a fixed body part, but it's so far and almost on a curve that it's not really visible. So they had to put it down there. See, this is when they designed this and really didn't think of the turn signals until later. I'm like, oh, we didn't put the turn signal. This is not compliant. Well, let's just stick them down there. Looks completely off. Looks very strange when the lights are flashing, and yeah, strange decision. Then there is possibly the strangest thing in the back. I mean, this one really takes a prize. The Hyundai logo. I mean, you look at this, looks like a Hyundai logo, nothing really to it, until you look at it from the inside. There is a definite hump in the back, right dead center in your blind spot when looking through the rearview mirror. That's okay. A lot of cars have this. They usually have their wiper here, a handle to open the glass, something. Except in this one, there's nothing behind this. Absolutely nothing behind it. A little sheet of metal, and that's it, with the same hump. And then the wiper is very cleverly, by the way, this is actually a great idea. It's tucked away underneath the spoiler. Beautiful design. But can they explain to me exactly why put the logo right here? Makes absolutely no sense. Basically, they designed this rear end not thinking of the logo, not thinking of the turn signal situation, and then when this thing rolled into production, oh my God, we don't have a logo, let's just stick it here. This is not a good idea. If this was just out of place, the turn signals I'm okay with, but this robs away from your visibility. Not a good idea. Could have just put the name here across, would have looked super cool. But that's what they did in the back. And something specific to this specific one. This is a plug-in hybrid model. We have the charge door here. The one thing I will say about this, and of course here is the charge door, it's a plug-in hybrid, doesn't have the high voltage plug, just a regular plug. The door. If you go look at a RAV4 Prime door, RAV4 Prime is probably the king of plug-in hybrids, one of the best. The door is so flimsy on that. I mean, it feels like every time you pull it, it feels like it's going to rip out. This, however, It's not like a door. It does have a little bit of flimsiness, but it's a lot better than the RAV4 Prime door. This is something you're going to use all the time to charge this thing. And this is high quality. So this is where this wins over the RAV4 Prime. In just one area there. Let's talk about the interior of the Hyundai Tucson. And initially, when you sit in this car, you're gonna love it. The dashboard design, if you look at it, the dash is just straight. There is absolutely nothing coming up for the gauges, nothing. And the best part about it is, it has a slight angle down. It's like always angled down. The visibility in this car is impressive. It is such a good idea not to have a feature in the dash, just have it a flat plain surface. It just gives you such a good visibility, no matter how tall, short, which position you drive. This is the good thing. This is really a good idea. And something about the interior also, you have that second very tiny tier here of the dash that just gives it a feature that's not just a boring flat design. It just has this little hump that also does not interfere with your visibility, but it's just such a nice thing. But that's unfortunately where the nice things end, because the materials here are not good. For a car of this price, for a car that is, you know, you're trying to make your plug-in hybrid, your technological advanced car, it just feels a little on the cheap side here. It does make it up on the road nose size. We'll talk about that in a second, but it just feels cheap. Everything you touch, you have piano black here, piano black here. That's really it. The only feature you have in this very cheap feeling dash is this panel that runs across here, across, and then across on the doors. It is fabric. Not even like a cooler, softer piece of leather with something. No, it's fabric. If anything, this probably cost less than this to make. It just, the interior doesn't feel very high quality here. Everything from the plastic on the steering wheel, from even the leather seats, it just, the fit and finish on the leather seats is a little lackluster there. This is the problem. Your initial impression here will be beautiful because of this flat dash, but then when you start spending a little bit more time here, it's like, yeah, this is a little bit on the cheap side here. But then that's when the serious problems start, because I really dislike shifters that are buttons or rotary dial, because they absolutely make no sense. And this is a casing point here. You have park, reverse, neutral, drive. Very easy, very simple to operate. But I thought the whole idea of having buttons or rotary dial is to free up more space here. That's not the case. This takes exactly the same space a normal old school shifter would take. So what's the point of this? To be cool. That's okay. Then we move over to the controls in the front. I love the fact that the heated seats and the cooled seats are right here. This is very nice. And you got the heated steering wheel right here, parking sensors, the parking camera, 360 camera, and then the hill descent control in a car like this. This doesn't make sense being here, but I like this. This is super easy to control. You have your four-wheel drive lock right here. You have your driving mode, which makes no difference at all. And funny thing is, one of the drive modes is called Eco, one of them is Sport, there's a Snow, and then there's Smart. That's a very important drive mode. Anyhow, this button right next to the drive mode, and actually I wish it was this one, because it's this one is kind of tucked and you have to go like this to see it, is the one in the plug-in hybrid model that changes between EV mode, hybrid mode, and automatic. Important button. I like its position. I wish it was on this side, but hey, you can't have everything. But then come to the infotainment system, and there are some really good features here, but there are some really annoying things. Let's turn it on here and we'll take a look at it. So you notice the infotainment system, decent sized screen, not the most responsive screen in the world, but it's decent for a car like this. In this segment, this is decent. But then we have the volume control situation. So you have the power button right here, very simple. This is like touch capacitive. It is not actual buttons. Can be touch and go, but we'll live with that. But the problem is the volume. Every time you want to change the volume, you have to do one of these deals. Every time you want to lower it down, or you press, hold, okay, it went too much, now we go back. This is where simplicity works better. This design flows and looks very nice, kind of like a floating center console, but a rotary dial would have been much better, because in the end, this is not a fashion design. People want to use these cars. This is a daily driving car that you're going to use every day, and this is going to get very annoying. Now, some more cool things here. The HVAC control. You don't have one auto mode, you have 3 auto modes, because that's something Hyundai has been doing in their cars. It's cool, just gives you more airflow, lesser airflow, I guess. But then there are 2 things that are very interesting here. There is driver only. It'll actually shut off all the vents and focus the airflow to the driver. This is really cool, because there's always going to be a driver in the car, but there's not always going to be a passenger. If you get in your car, it's very hot, and you don't really want to be wasting the airflow to cool the rest of the car. You just want to get cool first. You could just hit it, and it actually works pretty good. The other thing is, you're driving, and some folks, I'm not one of them, but some folks, my wife is one of those people, they don't like air being pushed from the HVAC vents in their face all the time. They just dislike it. They always end up pushing the vents to the side. Now they're hot. It just becomes a situation. Well, there's a button here that says diffuse. It's actually going to diffuse the air. You're going to still get airflow around you, but it's going to diffuse it from hitting your face. That is really cool. It's a button right here, not a physical button. It's just one of those touch buttons, but hey, this is super simple to access. These are features you're going to use. The combination of this with the physical buttons for the heated and cooled seats, very good idea. These are the features you're going to use all the time. You want them to be physical buttons or very easily accessible. You don't have to go through the screen to do that. Then we look at the screen, which I passionately call the useless iPad. So there's not a lot of customizations here. When you switch it in sport mode, it just kind of changes the colors and the aggressiveness, and you go into eco, it just changes. But really, that's all you get with this. That's the problem with this. And right now we're in smart mode. And something else that is cool, when you turn on the turn signal, it actually shows you your blind spot in video. That is not exclusive to this car, but it is pretty cool feature to see that they're kind of standardizing it across their platform. And something very interesting about this car, see, when Toyota hybrids, they basically pioneered the hybrid technology. When the car is on, you have a sign that says ready, because right now the car is running, engine's off, and they just wanted to make some kind of warning that the car is on. Toyota world, it says ready. And this car doesn't say ready, because they're not trying to copy Toyota, of course. We have this little teeny tiny sign. It's a green car with 2 arrows. That means the car is on, or ready, or operating, but the engine is off. Pretty cool that they came up with their own sign for that. They didn't just slap ready like some others. And something that is kind of carries on the strange theme with this car, decision-wise. Lock and unlock is right here. Very, very simple. Very nice. There's nothing wrong about it. But the problem is, you notice the gleaming absence of a physical lock toggle or button or anything, because actually there is no lock toggle. So I guess if you by some miracle you manage to lock your keys inside this car, forget about slim jimming the door. It's just not going to happen unless you press unlock the button. When you hit lock, there's a tiny teeny light that lights up to let you know that the doors are actually locked. When you hit unlock, that light goes off. I don't understand the reasoning behind this. It just doesn't make sense. You already have a space for a toggle. I mean, you can easily put a button here. Yes, some people say for theft, but I don't see it. I'd rather have it a physical toggle so I can see life's good, doors are locked, I can unlock them. 10 years down the road, something breaks, we can, unlock the door. But I guess we are very sure about the quality of the door locks, that they'll never break, so you don't have a manual toggle here. Now let's talk about the back seat, where there are a couple interesting things here. First, let's talk about the practical stuff. I'm 5'7", this is my driving position. I have plenty of room. This is a pretty comfortable back seat with a few little things. So the first thing is, there is a seat heater here. Very, very cool. I mean, this is becoming a little bit more mainstream in cars of this segment, of this price level, but it's really cool that it's at least available as an option. If you have adult kids, you live in a really cool place, this is actually nice to have. The outboard seats are heated, both sides. Of course, it's an option in the upper trims, but hey, it's available if that's something you want. Something that is also kind of carried over from the front, but is exaggerated in the back. You remember I told you there is this line that runs across the car that is fabric? Well, in the rear, the fabric gets really, really big, and it's very fabricy. And of course, the materials here, this is soft touch, I suppose, but it just doesn't feel, doesn't say quality, if you would. This is fine, it's plastic. This is plastic, but this just doesn't feel nice. Wouldn't have minded if this was the same material and the price was a little cheaper, but hey, that's what they did here. But something that is strange here. Of course, there are so many strange things about this car. The back seat can't be all that normal. The seatbelt situation, again. This is the normal position of the seatbelt. Now, most people will not see it as a problem, but here's the thing. Every time you get out, you could potentially drag this guy with you. Why is it in the way? Again, they missed that, just like they missed a few things in the back, like the Hyundai logo sticking out from the windshield. But this is the normal position for the seatbelt, just sticking at the corner of the door. Again, more strangeness for you from the Hyundai Tucson. And then to make up for the seatbelt just kind of hanging in your way of the door, they gave you something that is pretty cool. When you fold the seats down and you're getting ready to take your kids' first college year furniture in, and you roll the seats down, the seatbelt's just hanging here, you actually have a slot to take the seatbelt and kind of put it in the slot, and now it's out of your way. Very, very cool idea here. I just wish they spent this much attention to detail to moving the seatbelt a little bit back, except this pillar is tiny. That's probably why they had to do it this way. But hey, they at least gave you something to make up for that little afterthought. Let's talk about the back of the Hyundai Tucson. Now, the curve of the glass is not extreme, so this is actually very good usable space. It's pretty big. You have the seat release right here, so you can release the seats. They don't always lock on their own. You have to kind of give them a push, but hey, at least you have some kind of release here. This is a plug-in hybrid model, so this is the charger that comes with it. And then we have more strange decisions here. So this is a two-tier dealio that comes up and kind of moves up. You have all this storage underneath. Beautiful thing. But you notice the gleaming absence of the spare tire. Instead, you have man's worst invention. The tire mobility kit is what we're calling it here. This basically fix a flat in a can that expires, ruins your experience when you have a flat tire. It's like, we have all this space. I understand if this was some tiny little hatchback that you don't really have space to put a spare tire, but I mean, you have all this space. Why couldn't we put a spare tire? I guess that's a decision. Now, I have to say, in some Hyundai models, I'm pretty sure if this one qualifies for that. You can actually buy a spare tire kit, chuck this thing out, put that, you have a spare tire, life is good. I just hope more and more models have that, so you can at least have an option if you want the proper spare tire. You can easily buy a spare tire, remove this little foam thing, put the spare tire, and life is good. You can get rid of man's worst invention, but I just wish that was actually standard, because it would make a lot of sense here. So, should you buy a Hyundai Tucson, plug-in hybrid, or just nothing, just a regular good old Tucson. This car has so many strange things about it. The looks are very interesting from the outside. It has a lot going on. Personally, I think it's too much. They went a little too far. Hyundai makes really good looking cars these days, but this one is a bit up there. Might appeal to some people that like the strangeness of it. It looks quirky, but that's okay. The interior it has its really functional stuff, but it also has some stuff that are strange. It is a little bit cheap feeling, and that's the problem. But one thing that interior has that is not the norm with Hyundai, it is decently quiet. It is not the quietest, not to the level of a CX-5 Mazda or a Mazda CX-50, but it is decently quiet. Especially on highway rides, it's decent. It's not super loud where you can hear the people in the car next to you talking, but it is decent for what it is. And then the plug-in hybrid and the hybrid. I don't think this is a good plug-in hybrid. Not because it's unreliable and all that, and that is yet to be seen. We'll wait for that in the future, but the execution is not. It feels like this is an experiment. The hybrid system here is, I wouldn't call it really a hybrid system. It's a hybrid attach system. Because if you take that electric motor and you just leave this engine and leave this transmission, this might actually drive better than the DCT transmission. Engine will be underpowered, but hey, this is not a fast car. And this, if you buy this, let's say you look to the RAV4 Prime, there's very fast and very exciting, and you buy this assuming it's the same, it is not. You will be shocked the minute you accelerate in this car and how slow and how the big delay until things come together and let's go. And then something about hybrids, like Toyota hybrids, Lexus hybrids, or even Ford hybrids, they're seamless. You accelerate, yes, you have the ECVT drone, but it's seamless. You don't feel the transitions. All of a sudden the engine shuts off and what happened here? It's very smooth. This is very clunky. Folks, it is super, super clunky. You feel every transition, you feel every time the engine starts, and every time you're in regeneration in your floor, it just takes a minute for everything to, it's just not very responsive. It feels like an experiment, doesn't feel like a complete product. I think they have a lot of work to do here. This feels like the first generation Prius all over again, where things were not complete. They haven't thought of everything. And for a plug-in hybrid to not have a dedicated, proper heating system makes this basically useless in the winter. So just buy a hybrid, or better yet, if you like the looks, like all the stuff, and the great visibility in this car, just buy a regular one. Give them more time to figure out the plug-in hybrid, make it a little better. I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. And until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.